Alright guys, so as you know, these little videos, I kind of use them to talk about different stuff or news or topics or reply to comments because instead of getting in the comments and leaving a 3-page soliloquy, I just rather, do a little vid and that way I could get all my thoughts out about the subject or the comment. The last video I did, 90% McFarlanes are peg warmers, and somebody had to reply with their, stupidity. And I'm not really sure how I replied to him. Probably something like, you need to be bumped up in the line for a brain transplant or something like that. He basically said that 90% of McFarlane aren't peg warmers, they're Batman trash or something like that. Like, McFarlane only makes Batman. Well, let's go ahead and reply. Well, first to the 90% Batman comment. Well, as we've come to find out, and as I've said before, Batman sells, and that's just a double edged sword. You have to take that in and expect that for any company that has a DC license. They are definitely going to make Batman. And I just don't get what's so hard to understand about that. You can even look at other companies that have the DC license, like even Mayfix. I think they're like 80% Batman or Batman related figures. I'm talking DC because, of course, I know they do Spider Man and whatever they do. But anytime there's a new release that they're like, oh, Mayfix is revealing some new figures, it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to be Batman. And that's just what any company that has a DC license is going to do because, of course, Batman is, if not the most popular, one of the more popular characters, especially for adult collectors. And you could look at this across the board from Spin Master to Mayfix to Mezco, which is another one that does pure Batman. You rarely see them do any other figures except for Batman or Batman related figures. And this is a concept that you should easily understand, especially if you have at least two brain cells to rub together, but obviously this guy doesn't. And the biggest disrespect about this is McFarlane has literally made almost the same amount of Superman as he has Batman. Now I have them on display, and it's not exactly even, but there's a lot of Superman pretty much matches up pretty close to as much Batman as he's made. As well as on my other displays, you could see all the other lanterns, obscure characters, speedsters. I mean, the list goes on and on. McFarlane has made a lot of figures that we never even thought we would see in plastic form. I mean, you're looking at like Captain Carrot, Icon, Ragman. I mean, he's just made so many other characters. Of course, he's made Batman because that is the main support of the line. That is what keeps it going. But he has made a ton of alternate characters. So this guy didn't really like burn me or or as he likes to say, like keep coping. Like, to me, it's like he's just uninformed about the line and a little bit asinine. Literally showing me that he doesn't even collect the line because if he did, he would know exactly what other characters McFarlane has made. Especially when he's trying to push one of the main talking points of McFarlane haters that literally is not true. And that takes us into the second part of his comment, which was, why don't you cope? McFarlane is done. First off, McFarlane still has a chance to make DC figures. This is all going to come down to how Mattel runs the license. We did know in the past that Mattel made DC Universe Classics, while DC Direct continued to make figures in a 7-inch scale, while DC UC was 6-inch, and the lines ran simultaneously. And we will not, definitely know what's going to happen probably for another year or maybe at Comic Con. We'll get some clues. But right now, everything is up in the air, so nothing is definitive. I'm not going to laugh at anything or put all my money on one bet because I don't want to eat my words later on. Like, that's to say, Mattel is going to be 6-inch DC when we all know that most of their figures are 7-inch, especially the Masterverse. So we do not know if Mattel goes for 7-inch. That's not going to sound good for McFarlane, but we just do not know. So everything now is just conjecture and guesswork, which I don't really put a lot behind. And in the end, if you follow me, you really know where I stand, and that is that I think everybody should be allowed to collect what they want. If you're into Legends, if you're into Valaverse, if you're into Funkos, whatever you're into, that's your business, that's your money. I don't put down people for collecting anything. In fact, sometimes I wish I was a Masters of the Universe collector. I mean, they have some cool figures, cool collections, even Legends figures. Sometimes I'm really interested to pick up and take a closer look at, especially characters that I grew up with. But for the most part, I am a DC action figure collector. And I feel like McFarlane has had a pretty good run. I mean, it could have been better. Other choices could have been made. But one thing we all know, and McFarlane has said this, no matter what figures he decides to put out, no matter what accessories, no matter which direction he goes, there are always going to be those people that are just never satisfied.
Because you freaking fricks just can't ever be quenched. Your fantasies can't ever be quenched, can they? You freaking fricks! When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
And I mean, in the end, McFarlane could finish up the license with his head held high. I mean, you're talking over 1,000 figures and vehicles, tons of things that we never thought we would see in action figure form, as well as classics that we are really happy to add to our collections. So McFarlane had a good run. It doesn't hurt me at all. I don't lose any sleep thinking, McFarlane lost the license. I really could care less. I'm still going to collect DC figures, be it Mattel or be it any other type of DC figure that I decide to collect. That is completely my business. And honestly, as I said before, I'm interested to see what Mattel brings to the table. I'm going to look at what they put out, compare it to McFarlane, compare it to old DC Universe classics. That's the main thing I'm really excited about, that there will be more content to be made, more figures to hunt, more figures to purchase. It is really exciting when a new line starts up and you get to see DC action figures from a different perspective. And we know for sure one thing is true: Mattel will not be perfect. No action figure line is perfect. They all make dumb mistakes. They all make dumb choices in accessories and scale. All we can really do is buy what we enjoy and skip on things that are just not for us. And that is really what I do. You can't just be buying up anything that they put out just because you're a sick, disgusting completist like me. Even as a completist, I have learned to pick and choose my battles, really prioritize the figures that I really, really want, and the other ones can be picked up secondary. There's maybe even on sale. There's just no rush to complete the line. So in the end, I have no need to cope. There's nothing for me to cope about. But this guy definitely sounds like he may need to go to the doctor and get checked for some McFarlane derangement syndrome. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below. Catch you in the next one.